The best retirement advice ever from retirees, part 2. Hey, you guys liked it so much last time, I thought I'd come up with another one. So here we go. Here's number 1. Invest emotionally in your family. What does that mean? When you get to retirement, you're going to notice you have a lot more time to spend with your family, your friends, everyone. But if you don't have a good relationship with your family, that cuts out a lot of time for what you're going to do in retirement. Before you get to retirement, put time into it, guys. Mend some of those, broken relationships that were there before. This is what retirees have said that they regret. They didn't spend time with their family. They didn't fix any ills that were going on in their family, because now that they're in retirement, they have so much more time that they want to spend with their family. Yes, I guess you can do that while you're in retirement, but a lot of these retirees said they wish they would have mended all those fences a long time ago, so they didn't have to deal with all that. All the stuff in retirement would be good with their family. Well, as good as you could get, right? So guys, if there's anything out there with your family that needs to be repaired, fix it. Fix it before you get to retirement. So when you get to retirement, you can enjoy all the spare time you got with them. You got all the time in the world to just spend with family. Number 2, before I get to number 2, leave me comments, guys. Leave me comments on the best retirement advice you've ever got. Could be from retirees, could be from anyone. Just let me know. I want to add to my list here. Maybe we can get a part 3 and I can let people know who it came from, if it came from one of my viewers. Number 2, expect to spend more than you planned on in retirement. Think about it. The first 10 or so years of retirement are called the go-go years. That's when you will be spending the most. That's from usually like 60s to 70s. 70s to 80s are called the slow-go years, and 80s and beyond are called the no-go years. So a lot of these retirees said, expect to spend more than you thought you would in retirement. Now with me, I've only been retired a little over 2.5 years. That hasn't been the case, okay? But I'm single. I'm by myself. I have a girlfriend, but I have no kids. So it may be different for those of you who have families, who have grandkids, kids. Think about it. It makes sense, right? You've got all this time in the world now. You're going to spend a lot of time and money probably on your grandkids especially, and even your kids. Who knows, Help them out with to buy a house or something. Now, if you're on moderate retirement, like we've talked about before, I don't suggest that. Do it in the case of, hey, a down loan on a house, right? Other than that, maybe, put some money away from for the grandkids' college. Other than that, I wouldn't be helping them out on a monthly basis. We're in moderate retirement. This is your retirement now, guys. Enjoy it. We don't have $5 million in the bank where we can just splurge and say, hey, you know what? We're going to give you $2,000 a month to do what you want. Your kids are kind of on their own now if they're adults, right? And for those of you who haven't seen me before, my name is Duane, and this is a retirement channel for people on moderate retirement income. If you think you might enjoy that, think about subscribing and like the video as well. And if you really like it, down below here, you can buy me a coffee to supplement my modest retirement income. Thank you. Number 3, retirees, a lot of them said they wished they had eased into retirement. That could be a lot of things. What most of the respondents said, though, is they wished that, and a lot of them didn't have the opportunity to do this. So, one caveat, before you can do this, you're going to have a company or a boss that's amenable to saying you can cut down your hours. Instead of working 40, 50 hours a week, come to them a couple years before and say, boss, I'm going to be retiring in a couple years. How about we cut this down to like 25 or 30 or even 20 hours a week? I know that situation isn't for everyone. I know that. But if you can, that's a good way to ease into things, guys, where it's almost like you're experimenting with, you're almost at retirement, right? If you can think of any way to do that, you might just quit your job and work part-time until you retire. You know? I mean, that's barista fire. Is it barista fire? I think it is. It's one of those crazy, wacky fire phrases. Think about doing it. You know what else it helps? If you don't have all that time to spend at work, it will help you find things to fill that extra time you got on your hands now. So when you get to retirement, it's not such a big thing. Okay, what am I going to do with all my time? You know what? For the last couple of years, you found that out when you were working part-time. So a lot of these retirees wished they could have just eased into retirement. Kind of give it a trial run, you know? Number 4, and I've mentioned this many times, they said they wished they had made more friends out of the workplace. Now, most of retirees, on a video I just did recently, I mentioned this, miss their work friends. But as we've talked about a lot on this channel, your work friends aren't going to be there for you when you retire, when you leave the company. I know firsthand experience. If you're lucky, you might have some. I have a couple. I thought I'd have 10 or 20. Okay? So these retirees suggest to make friends outside of the workplace before you retire. That way you don't have to worry about relying on your work friends, you know, to, hey, what are you doing Friday night? Let's go out. You might not have even talked to these people in a year or so that you used to work with. Isn't that going to be kind of awkward? They really recommend make friends outside of the workforce. Number 5. Now, this is something I've advised off and on. I did this a long time ago, 15, 20 years ago. I went and saw a retirement professional, a retirement planner, to go over my plan. You know, I paid a fee-only fiduciary. I think I was there for a half hour. You know, back then it was like $150 or maybe 100. Can't remember. I had them go over about 20 years ago my retirement plan and just said, hey, am I on the right track? A lot of retired people say they regret not having a retirement professional look over their retirement plan. Okay, what does that mean? That probably means it didn't work out as well for them as they hoped it would. You know, they might be pinching pennies, like let's say 20 years into retirement now. They didn't get into that specific, but that could be the case. So guys, is it really going to hurt you? And I mentioned this again. And you know what, guys? I know I mention things over and over again. And if I do, it's because they're very important. Okay, I'm just trying to hammer that home. Hammer it home. Here's the nail. Here's your head. Hammer, hammer, hammer. Very important. If you're at all unsure about your retirement plan, make some time, an hour maybe, with a retirement professional so you can get more secure with it. All right? Because if you look down the road 15 years and you feel good about your retirement plan because you visited a professional for maybe an hour or 2, or who knows, even 3, make 3 different, appointments with them. Are you really going to miss that money that you spent on it if you feel so good about it 20 years in the future? No. So if that's you, if you're not completely sure about your plan, I'd say at least 90% or more, set up time with a professional financial planner or retirement planner. It can really do you a lot of good. And number 6, and this should go without saying, guys, I'm single, okay? I have a long-term girlfriend. As of this month, it'll be 21 years for us. We're in a very committed relationship, but she lives where she lives. I live where I live. I'm up here a couple weeks. I go down and see her for a couple weeks. We're very committed, but we are not married. Okay, especially those of you that are married or in a long-term commitment. Talk to your spouse or your significant other about your retirement plan before you retire. A lot of these retirees say it took a while to adjust once they retired with their significant other because they hadn't talked it through. They hadn't spent the time to talk it through. Okay, this is what I think I'm going to be doing most days. Are you okay with that? This is what I'd like to do. I'd like to go here, here, and here. Are you okay with that? I mean, if let's say you've been married 10 years or whatever, and you've been working the whole time, do you even know if your spouse, significant other, wants to go on an extended vacation? You might not know because you never had that time off from work, enough time, more than a couple weeks, where you could tell. You got to talk everything out. Everything about your retirement, talk it over with your spouse. Retirees, that's some of the best advice I thought that they could give. A lot of them didn't do that, and it got them in hot water. Took them years in some cases to work through that, okay? So there you go, guys. There are 6 more examples of the best retirement advice ever from retirees. And just remember, guys, think about some of those things. You know, don't have to obsess on them, but think about them. And if you do, we got this.